I have a question. What was George Washington's bed made out of?
What was George Washington's bed made of? That's a great question, and one that we can say quite a lot about. The bed that you see today in George Washington's bedchamber here at Mount Vernon is the original bed that the Washingtons owned in the later years. It's one that was commissioned specially by Mrs. Washington. The bed frame was made of several different types of wood. The footposts were the ones that you would see most often when the curtains were pulled, and they were made of the most expensive, showiest wood, and this was a rich red mahogany that had been imported from the Caribbean. The rest of the frame was made of less expensive woods, probably found locally, and they were stained or colored to match the mahogany and make it look all of one piece. But that wasn't the only part. These high post beds were very complex and the work of many different craftspeople. So for instance, there was the hardware that held the bed together. You had iron bed bolts, you had iron curtain rods that would have been made by a blacksmith, you had brass curtain rings, you had brass wheels on the post that allowed the bed to be moved around. And then the showiest part of the bed was the curtains or the drapes that went around it. In the Washington's case, the originals don't survive, but we know from the documentation that they would have been made of dimity. And dimity was a very fine, white striped cotton, considered very fashionable at the time, and may have been imported all the way from India for this bed. There was fringe and decorative trim that would have been on it. And then, of course, you had all the components that made it comfortable. So you had a foundation that was made of rope and canvas called a sacking bottom. You had mattresses stuffed with horsehair to make them firm. You had the bed itself, as it was known in the 18th century, which was a sack filled with feathers, feather pillows, and then linen sheets, wool blankets, and hopefully another cotton coverlet on top of all that. So it was a very complex piece. With all those different components, it was a great luxury and quite expensive.
Click the subscribe button below and the bell icon to get notifications for new videos about George Washington and behind-the-scenes work at Mount Vernon.